when talking about the Florida Panthers, we can't not talk about Brad Marchand. Like Brad Marchand, what a perfect fit it was. Like everyone at the trade deadline knew this was going to be the perfect fit. Like,
Leafs fans did.
yes, like exactly. Leafs fans knew exactly the moment that they traded the chance of the cup was basically locked, sealed, and delivered at that
Yeah.
point. But has Brad Marchand played himself into a pay like a pay increase? I would say like a upgrade in pay.
Everyone I've talked to about it says he's getting 8 million. He's 8 times 3. Who wants to be the team to pay it? And I think if you're for almost any team with a serious Stanley Cup chance, how could you not willingly do it? It's funny. I watched him in the Four Nations, and I was like, he can't play at that speed. If the game is too fast, he's not able to keep up. But in NHL playoffs, you don't have they're not all-star teams.
Yes.
These teams have third lines and fourth lines, and there's your D, you have second pair and third pair guys where Marchand can still get in behind him, get these breakaways, get his chances, and he's just too smart. So yeah, I think you'll have teams lining up to pay him. So he probably gets up to that $8 million mark. Does he do what everyone else has done in Florida and say, yeah, I'll do it for 6.8 here or whatever it ends up being? I could see that happening for sure, but there's no doubt that someone like myself went into this year with questions. Four Nations, I was like, you can't keep up anymore. You watch him playoffs, go, oh right, yeah, he's still that guy.
Yeah, like it's something about showing up in the big moments, and some players have it, some players don't, and just something about him, he's always had it. Like I remember watching him at the 2016 World Cup of Hockey.
Yeah,
That was Canada. I'm pretty sure it was against Finland, and he scores the game-winning goal with like 20 seconds left in the third period. And like at that point, like he wasn't like a guy that was supposed to be on that team. I don't think like he wasn't like a massive like name that was like he's locked to be on that
just coming
team.
into his like Hart Trophy vote years there.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. And like ever since then, it feels like the career of like a Hall of Famer has taken off, and he's just been the instant killer for a lot of teams.
yeah, he's got
So
those
it's
Justin Williams vibes, right? Like where it's
yeah,
just
absolutely.
unfazed, big game sort of player. You know what's going to find him somehow in the big moments.
Do you? I actually have just a quick question, like about him. Do you ever get annoyed with his off ice antics, like about
Yeah,
like
shut up
praising?
all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
All the
yeah.
time. Like, I see them like shooting the rats at him after the game. I'm like, the guys enjoy that? Or they actually, is that funny to someone? Like, I don't, but there is something that he's like not afraid to put himself out there. I think in the last game, the Oilers took 4 penalties in the first period, and he's going to the bench like after they score, like, keep your composure, keep your cool. Those sort of chirps can come back and bite you, if it doesn't go well. But he
Hmm.
doesn't seem to care or worry if he gets embarrassed. Like he lays it on the line and lets it fall how it may. And
Yeah,
that's an admirable trait in anyone.
yeah. Like even like last year when the Leafs came back from 3-1, it just didn't seem like I know he said like after I think it was game 3 or game 4 when he said like you could see him on the TV. He said it's over, like they're done, and then like they come back and they tie it, and then obviously everyone knows Boston wins game 7, but like it's still at that point it didn't seem like it phased him that like
Yeah.
those words had kind of like he had kind of shot himself in the foot there in the mouth, and like they came back, but like he's just the killer. I don't know what it is about him. It's
Yeah.
just he's got that killer instinct.
Yeah. And how do you quantify that? How do you value it? If you're a GM, like, are you sure you're going to get that? Like, I always worry about paying someone who's done it in the past rather than what you're going to get in the future. But I don't really worry about like his sample size is long enough that it's like, okay,
Yes.
that's a real quality he
Mhm.
possesses. The puck didn't bounce to him twice. And we've gone, oh, wow, he put a couple lucky ones away. He creates a lot of big moments. Getting that overtime winner against Edmonton, he's still sniffing for breakaways at that point
Yeah.
in the game. Like he's in the moment, and it's the real deal with him.
Talk about not a big sample size. I think one of the player that everyone comes to mind is Sam Bennett when you talk about the sample size there. His first year hitting 50 points. before he went to Florida, he was a bust. He was known as a bust. He was not known to be a great fourth overall pick as what you hope to get out of a fourth overall pick.
Yeah.
Goes to Florida, he turns his career around. He turns into one of the best playoff performers. Is he worth the money that he's going to get? Like, I think when looking at him on a contract, you're more so not paying for the regular season. You're paying for the playoffs with him. Was that right?
Yes, it is. And I'll be honest, like I am really torn on this one. It depends what the number is, but the agent for this guy, the agent that seems to be trying to establish, I think in psychology, you call it like an anchor, like an anchor number, like people float it out there and say, oh, he's going to get 12 or whatever. And then when people get him for 10, they feel like they got a deal.
Yeah.
It's like, are we going to have a 50-point guy, $10 million? It feels pretty insane because you then are talking about the thing we just did with Marchand. Do you think he's that? Do you think he's this killer instinct guy that's going to keep being this guy? There is part of me that's like, all right, so let's say you give him 10 million times 7 years or something like that. And this is his career high in points. So now he's a 40, 45 point guy who is like, how much better is he than like Scott Lawton at that point? It's like Scott Lawton plus a few points, plus a few hits. Like it's just, there is a downside to a Bennett contract. That's very real. I want this Conn Smythe Bennett on my team. I'd pay anything to have that. But I don't know. How sure are you that you're going to get it? The Bennett one totally scares me.
Yeah. Is that your pick, by the way? Just sorry to jump in, Brandon. Would that be your choice? I mean, I tried to do some research. I can't think of another time a pending UFA has won a Conn Smythe. It hasn't happened. Is he your pick right now, or do you see anyone else kind of surpassing him? If the Oilers win, clearly, but who's your pick right now?
It is him, but I will say I've kind of been making the case. Like if you could say, like if we go in a time machine, go back to the start of every game in this series and rerun it without Bennett and then rerun it without Barkov, is their record better after which, it's like Barkov plays 4 more minutes per game than him against the opposing team's top line so that he is free to do his thing on the against second lines. And, to me, Barkov probably the more important player, but Bennett's got 14 goals in 20 games. The bigger moments, the more highlight reel worthy stuff. He's definitely going to win it if they just win the next 2 games.
Yeah. So, do you, Brandon, go ahead if you had a question.
Well, I was just going to ask, like, what is it, Justin, that you made? Like, what do you make of Bennett's ability to just kind of turn it on? At least we've seen in the last couple of years, and do you think that's sustainable, whether he stays in Florida or go somewhere else? It seems like obviously in Florida that's the more likely spot because of everything you just outlined with his ability to play on a second line and kind of contribute in a different way. But I wonder, like, do you think we see him maybe have a more productive regular season going forward, or do you think it's just this is his level and he's just able to turn it up in the playoffs?
Yeah, it's tough to see me thinking that there's a level beyond this. He's 29, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I believe that top pedigree guys can be better later in their careers than, just guys who have nice peaks. Like, you look at whether it's Jason Spezza reinvents himself or Corey Perry or Brad Marchand. These are guys who came into the league as like, these guys are players. We knew they were players and they showed up and they were players. Bennett was a really high pick. He was a pedigree guy that people expected to produce in the league. It did take him a lot longer to find his footing than people expected. But I got to believe, if you're a team that's not Florida, that means you can get him for 7 years. I got to believe Bennett's got 4 years here where he's going to be this Bennett, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think at that point, you got to eat the risk on that and say, yeah, okay, let's see what he's got in the last 3. By then the cap's going to be 130 million and maybe it won't hurt as much. So I am torn, but I do think I would do it.
You don't think though, like the one thing I've been thinking about like a lot with Bennett is like the team. Do you think the team matters for him?
Yeah. So he's the perfect guy, actually. If you took him and said, we're going to put him on the Ducks and he's going to turn this team around, no chance. Like he is not moving the needle on his own. He's not a top line guy without other great guys. But I do think that on a good team, God, he's such a nice second layer of, you guys know all the stuff he does, including
Yeah.
injure the opponent, which is very helpful.
Yeah.
but no, I don't think he can carry the mail, which is why it's scary to be like, all right, you want to get paid more than, who makes 9.5 at this point? A lot of very good players, but you're getting into David Pasternak money at some point. It's like, let's not give him too much credit here.